Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial where I will show you how to set up the minimap. So at the end of this tutorial you can make something like this. So if we hit play, so we have the minimap there at the bottom, and we have some characters that we're tracking, so friendly AI and enemy AI, as well as point of interest such as like a location of something, a door or a dungeon or something like that. So we can zoom in and out. As you can see, we can zoom out all the way or zoom in. And we can, of course, if I enable the mouse, we can click on the minimap here and we can put some like a marker on our minimap. So the marker is will always be on the minimap, so we can always track where it is. So if we go far away, you can see here that it changes to a pointer which indicates where it is. So we call this a persistent point of interest or a persistent actor on the minimap, so we can always know where it is. So if we run around, you can see that we can see enemy AI, and we can also see friendly AI. Friendly AI are also persistent, which means we always know where they are. You can see here these pointers which point to where they are if you want to go and look for them. So if we try to go towards this pointer, we can then find this guy right here. And here it is. We can see his rotation and what is he doing, etc. So let's go ahead and explain how we did all this. So first, let's go ahead and delete all these AIs so that we can start over. So I'm gonna go to the world outliner. I'm gonna look for AI. I'm gonna delete all the enemy and friendly AI. So I'm gonna select everything and hit delete, as well as some of the point of interest that we can place on our world to track something like I said, a door or a specific place, like a static point of interest or like a static location. So there you go. Now if we play, we should have just the minimap. For the minimap texture, it is a texture of type PNG. So if you go to tutorial here, map texture, so here's our texture. I have two here just to demonstrate how we can dynamically change the minimap texture at runtime. So if I double click on the minimap here, here's our minimap. It's a PNG, so we can edit this image on Photoshop or something like that. So the texture format has to be quadratic, so which means it has to have the same X and Y, or like the height and width. As you can see here, it's 2048 by 2048, so we have to have the same thing. And we have the other one, which I'm going to use just to demonstrate, like I said, how to change the minimap at runtime. If you don't have a minimap texture, you can use, if you go to the minimap folder, you have a if you go to minimap component, we go to actor, we have a map capture 2D. Now, so the scene capture 2D allows you to capture an area of your map and then save it into a render target. If you prefer to use a render target, you can do that. However, for performance, it is preferred to use a texture, a static texture. So if we place this map capture 2D on our world, and let's go ahead and set the location to 0, so it is at the center of our map. So we're going to set X and Y as 0, and then let's just put it here a little bit there. So we can see the preview here. We can play real quick to force it to update. So we can see the preview here. So if we select this map capture 2D, if we go to the ortho width, so this is our ortho width, so we need to change that so that we can get like the entire map. So we can change that to something like 14,000, and now it captures pretty much everything. So if we click on the this render target, we can see the resolution here. You can change that to something lower, such as 1024 by 1024, or something even higher. So I'm gonna leave it at 2048 by 2048. So that's the size, and I'm gonna create a static texture from this. I'm gonna right click and then create static texture. So here's our static texture. Let's just call it minimap static texture for now. And then we can right click on it, on the static texture, go to asset action, and then export. Now I already did that, so you will export it as an HDR, which you can then convert into a PNG. There's a lot of websites that do that. You just Google convert HDR into PNG, and then you can re-import that PNG and use it. So I already did that here. I have the, like I showed you earlier, here's the map texture. We have two pictures here. Here they are in this folder. So if we go to properties, they are of type PNG, so we can use these. So once you import your PNG, then you can use that with your minimap, and then you can just delete this scene capture. We need to remember this one, the ortho width 14,000. This is the area that we are capturing on our texture. I will show you later why this is important, how to get that distance pretty easily. So let's go back to the tutorial folder, and here we have the widgets, and this is our in-game widgets. We'll just go ahead and delete that. Let's go back to the character first. So let's just start over. So let's go ahead to the character, and I want to delete everything so that we can start over. So I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to keep the movement so that we can move around easily. I'm going to delete all these methods, and I'm going to delete all these variables, minimap, this one and this one, and I'm going to compile. And so now we should have an empty character, and of course we need to go ahead and delete the widget as well. So let's just go ahead and do that. So delete the widget, and now if we play, we should have nothing, pretty much just the character and our map. So let's go ahead and add our minimap. So I'm going to go to widgets, right click, and then we're going to add a new widget blueprint. Let's just call it in-game minimap. So let's open that up, and it should be just an empty widget blueprint. If you go to user created here, you can find the minimap component, or you can search here minimap component. So let's just go ahead and drag that here, and I'm going to change its size to something like 400 by 400. That looks about right. So let's just put it right there. We can of course anchor it to the bottom, but it's not a problem right now. So the next step is to change the minimap settings. This is the important part here to make your minimap work. So first is the map material. It should be set by default to M minimap. So if we go to the minimap folder, we have minimap component, and inside it we have the minimap material function needed for to update what's going on in your minimap. So we have the minimap, the M minimap, which is the function or the material function. We have the minimap mask and minimap no mask. These are needed to make a round minimap or a square minimap. And so if we go back here, we can simply just keep it as M minimap, or like look for it. So M minimap. So this is our function. And so the map texture is our texture right here, and our map texture pretty much. So we're going to use this one right here, which I imported. It's a PNG, as I said. So it's called T minimap texture 1. So let's go ahead and select that. So T minimap texture 1, and we can already see it here on the preview. Or like I said, you can either use a minimap texture or like a map texture, or a render target. If you prefer to use a render target, you can just go ahead and select your render target. For the opacity mask, we're going to keep it as is, so minimap mask. And for no mask, minimap no mask. So of course, like I said, they are here with the map function. So we're just gonna keep those as is. Now for the map link and texture, this is very important. So the link is the area covered in your texture. How you can get that value? It's pretty easy. Again, you can either use this render right here, render target. If you exported your texture using this, you can then just go to the ortho width. So the ortho width is pretty much just the width of the area covered in your texture. You can either use this value right here. So we'll just go ahead and put it right there. And of course, you can also just change perspective to top right here. And so this is our map. And if we open our texture, we can see that it's covering. Let's go ahead and go back to the map texture. So it's covering like the map and a little bit here. So we need this distance right here from this point to this point. So that's the minimap link needed here. So how can we get that? It's pretty easy. You just go here, for example. So this is the area that we have on our texture. So all you have to do is just come from here, hold your middle mouse button, and then just this is used to just calculate the distance from a point to a point. And if we go here, we can see that it's about 14,000. So that's the area we have on our texture. So we can either use this method, of course, this again based on your texture. So in our texture we are capturing this area right here pretty much. So we can just calculate from the edge to the edge, and that is about 14,000. 1000. Or like I said, we can go back to perspective. We can just add this. We can just add this scene capture and just get this ortho width, and that's the value that we need to put in our settings right here. Minimap link and texture. The zoom steps. This is when you zoom in and out. You can define the steps. I'm gonna keep it at 25, 0.25. Do we want to rotate the map? I'm gonna say yes. Is it round or square? So you can pick whatever you want. I'm gonna keep it round. For the view angle, we can set a view angle. So we can just, you can make your own view angle, or you can pick the one that we have here and our minimap. If we go to minimap component, we go to resources, minimap resources, we have our view angle here, and we have a couple of other textures such as position indicator and location pointers, etc. So okay, so this is our view angle. We need to set the let's just zoom in a little bit. We need to set the size of the view angle. Of course, this is optional. If you don't want to set a view angle, you don't have to. So this is the view angle, just where you are looking pretty much. So I'm gonna put it at 200 by 200 for now. We can pick a color. I'm just gonna keep it that way. For my location texture, this is pretty much just your location. So let's just use the my location, or like my player position texture. So here it is. I'm going to change the size to 50 by 50. And for the color, I'm going to pick something like, this. And for the minimap border, we can keep it like this or add a minimap border. I'm going to use my minimap border here. So I'm going to just look for border and round border 1. And this is our border. We can then set the size based on the size of your minimap. So 400, like 500 looks okay. And do we want the border to rotate with the minimap? So basically, when we rotate our minimap, do we want the border to rotate as well? So for now, I'm going to set it to true, and we can change all these settings later. Now, for now, this is all you need to make your minimap work. And you can change all these settings at runtime. For example, you can change the border, you can remove, add a new border, you can change the size of the border, you can change the color of your of everything pretty much. Anything you see on the minimap, you can change its color at runtime just by calling a few functions that I will show you later. For now, let's go ahead and create this widget. So it's in game. Now if we go back to the tutorial and our widget, here it is. So it's in the in-game. Just gonna rename that real quick. So the in-game instead, in-game minimap. There you go. So let's go ahead and add this widget to our viewport. So I'm going to open up the character blueprint, and on the event begin play, we're going to add that widget. So let's go ahead and so I'm going to right click, create widget, and I'm going to look for that in-game minimap. There you go. So let's just connect that there. And then I'm going to promote this to a variable, and I'm going to call it minimap. And then I'm going to drag, and then I'm going to call add to viewport pretty much. There you go. So we added the minimap to the viewport. Now all we need to do is just drag up in from our minimap and just get the minimap component. So get the minimap component, here it is. And from this minimap component, we're going to call minimap start update. There you go. So this is the function needed to start updating your minimap. You can then, if you want to stop your minimap from updating, you can just call minimap stop update. So minimap stop update. This will stop updating your minimap. So after we add the widget to our viewport, we want to get the minimap component, which is of course just this one, which we added here. And then from this minimap component, we want to call the function minimap start update. So minimap start update needs an owner. So who is the owner of this minimap? An owner pawn. So we'll just go ahead and let's just give it self, like this character. So this character right here is the owner of this minimap. And if we compile now, and now we should be able to see our minimap working just fine. So if we move around, of course the minimap rotates as well as the border. We can disable that if we want. So there you go. That's how it's we can see that it's working fine. Just make sure that everything is fine. There you go. Okay, so the next step we want to do is add a zoom in and out. So let's just move this here. This is just called the event mouse wheel down. Okay, so when mouse wheel down is pressed, we want to zoom out. So when the mouse wheel down, we want to zoom out. So we'll get our minimap here and then drag again, same thing, get the minimap component. And from the minimap component, you can simply call minimap zoom out. So you can call just minimap zoom out or zoom in. So for this, we're going to call zoom out, and for mouse wheel up, we're going to call the other function. So let's just go ahead and copy paste and zoom in. There you go. So now we should be able to zoom in and out easily. Now let's just go ahead and compile, play, and now we should be able to zoom in and out pretty easily. So there you go. So we can zoom in, zoom all the way out, or zoom in. Of course, this is defined by the zoom step, so you can change the zoom step to something like 0.1 or something else. So let's go ahead and comment this one out. So let's put a comment here to something like zoom. So now we want to add something to the minimap. Let's go ahead and add our AI characters so that we can see them move around and track them in our minimap. So here I'm going to go to the AI folder, and I have some enemy AI and some friendly AI. So let's go ahead and drop the enemy AI here. Just add a couple ones here, like 5 of them or something like that. Put one here and put another here. And same thing for our friendly AI. There you go, that should do it. Now let's just go ahead and play and see if they move around. Okay, everything seems okay. Now that we added our AI, friendly, and enemy, let's go ahead and add them to the minimap. So how can we do that? Let's just create a custom event. So custom event, let's just call it add AI. So this is the add AI function. So first, let's go ahead and add our enemy AI. We can just call get all actors. Of course, if you don't have the reference already, you can just call all actors of class. So for now, we're going to use this function. You can use other functions, or if you already have them somewhere, like a multiplayer or something like that. But for now, we're going to use this function just to speed things up. So let's go ahead and get the enemy AI. So T enemy AI. And then we're going to call the minimap here and get the minimap component. So again, minimap components, or get minimap components. And from there, we want to call add actors. So we have add actor, like add a single actor, or add actors with S, so that we add multiple actors. So we're going to simply call that function. And then we want to give it the actors here. So point of interest actors. Do we want to follow their rotation? Yes, since they are characters, they rotate, etc. And for the texture, I'm going to use position indicator. You can use your own texture, but for now we're going to use this one. This is simple texture. And let's go back to the character. And for the size, I'm going to keep it 50 by 50. For the color, we can use something like red. Let's just go ahead and do make color, or like make slate color. And for the color, I'm going to choose something like red for now. There you go. So that should add our enemy AI to the minimap, and then we need to call this event. So here I'm going to make a sequence. So there it is. So first we create the widget, and then we want to add this add AI. So let's just go ahead and call add AI. This should work just fine. However, I prefer calling this after we add the AI characters. This is just my preference. Of course, it's not important. You can call minimap start update and then add whatever you want. It's not a problem, but I just prefer doing it this way. So let's just go ahead and get our minimap here. So our minimap component. We add the AI, then we call minimap start update, and this should add our AI to the minimap component by calling the function add actors and just giving it the actors. And then, do you want to follow their rotation? Yes, and just give it the texture, size, and color. And now if we play, we should see our enemy AI in our minimap. So there you go. That's one, and let's just go ahead and track the other ones. So here's one. You can see that you know where they are, where they're facing, because we follow their rotation, and there you go. So we can see where they are. So let's just go ahead and add our friendly AI, and this time we'll mark them as persistent. So what does that mean? Persistent means that they will always show on the minimap. When they're far away, we can always know where they are, which is not the case here for the enemy AI. If we go away from them, we no longer see them on the minimap, so they're not persistent. But for our friendly AI, we want to make them persistent so that we know where they are at all time. So here we're going to make a sequence as well. So after we add the enemy AI, we want to add our friendly AI. So we're going to do the same thing pretty much. So just copy paste. So I'm going to get all the friendly AI. So T friendly AI, and then we're going to call, so instead of actors, we want to call add persistent actors. So there you go. So add persistent actors. So persistent actors are for things that you want to always show on your minimap, and you will see the example in a moment. So just put this here, and so this is our friendly AI, and the actors is this one, and we do want to follow their rotation. For the texture, we're going to choose the same thing. So position indicator, size the same thing. For color, we're going to pick something like green. So just pick green. For the out of minimap texture, this is when they are far away that we can't see them. So we change the minimap texture to something like a pointer, which makes it easy to know where they are, so that if we want to join them or something like that. So for this out of minimap texture, we're going to use the out of minimap indicator, which is this one. So if we go here, so if they are far away, we'll change the texture to something like this so that we know where they are. And for the keep out of minimap texture straight, we're going to keep it false. Same thing for this one, and I'm going to show you later how we can use these to apply some changes to the way that the texture behaves when they're too far away. So this should pretty much add our friendly AI. Now if we play there, so we can see our friendly AI, and as you can see, if they are too far away, we can still see them thanks to the out of minimap texture, which changes to a pointer, which gives us which helps us know where they are on the map. So as you can see, the friendly AI are green and enemy AI are red, and we can track their position as well as their rotation. So there you go. And of course we can zoom in and out, no problem. So next I'm going to show you how to add something to the minimap when you click on it, or like just to get the world location when you click on your minimap. For this example, I'm going to add a marker to mark a position that I can go back to later or something like that. But first, let's just go ahead and handle the on-click event, which of course acquires when you click on your minimap. So let's just move this event here, and let's just handle it here. So after we add it to the viewport, we want to do bind. So we want to get the minimap component. And of course, this is from our minimap widget, which contains the minimap component. And then we want to call bind on click minimap clicked event. So this is our event right here. So and then we will add an event here. So let's just go ahead and call it custom event, and let's just call it minimap clicked. Okay. So this is our event, and this event will have two parameters. The first one is the world location. You can use this to spawn things or just do anything with that location. So let's just call it location, and the type is vector. And then we're going to add another one, and we're going to call it buttons. So this is what button you clicked, either like left click or right click, etc. And for the type, it's going to be a key. So not a key event, just a key. And then let's just go ahead and compile, and of course we'll get this error, but we're going to link it here. And so now if we compile, everything should work just fine. So This is how we handle bind the minimap clicked. First thing, you need to create an event with two parameters. The first one is location as of type vector, and the second one is a key type. And then here we can, for example, spawn something if we want. Let's just go ahead and spawn a point of interest. If we go to the minimap folder, if we go to minimap component, then actors, we have a point of interest that you can just place in your world. You can place it anywhere. It's just an empty actor with some default parameters here, variables, such as is it minimap persistent, the image, color, and we'll use this later for static point of interests, or like things that you want to put on your minimap, such as the location of a door or a house or something like that. So for now, we're going to spawn this point of interest. You can spawn a character, you can do anything you want. So first, I'm going to call spawn actor from class. And what I want to spawn that point of interest. So there it is. And then I'm going to promote it to a variable. I'm going to call it my marker. So before I spawn it, I want to verify if it's valid. So I'm going to say if is valid. So if it's not valid, we will just simply spawn it here and then set the variable here to my marker, and then we want to add it to our minimap. So just drag our minimap, get the minimap components, and then we want to add a single persistent actor. So we want to track this at all times. So add persistent actor, one actor without the S. So there you go. And for the image, we can pick here the default values. Is it minimap persistent? True. The image, I'm just going to add a location pointer. So location pointer could be something like this. So you can make your own texture. So you can pick whatever you want. For the color, let's just make a color here. And I'll show you later how you can change the color while at runtime, pretty much. So let's just make something like blue. For the out of minimap, let's just do out of minimap indicator 2, which is this one. We're gonna keep these unchecked, and here we can either pick the same thing, or we can just easily just drag from here, get image, and then we'll put it here, and then get the color. I'm going to put it right here. And for the out of minimap, same thing. So out of minimap image, and we're just going to link it here. So now this is when we create it and then add it to the minimap. So by calling add persistent actor. So of course, what actor? This one. This is very important. This actor. So it's very important to make sure you give it an actor. In our case, it's the point of interest. Now, of course, since we already have a button event, we can know which button we clicked. In our case, if we left clicked, we want to add the point of interest. If we're right clicked, we want to remove it. So we can just do a branch here, and then we want to compare, is it equal to right click? So let's just right click. So we're going to say if it is right mouse button. If it's true, what we're going to do is first, we're going to do the same thing here. If it's true, we're going to check if it's valid. If it is, we can either simply call destroy. So if you destroy an actor, if it's no longer valid, it will be removed from the minimap automatically. Or you can either call destroy, or you can call something like remove actor. And which actor, you can just give it the marker pretty much, and that will work just fine. But of course, you can then have to add it once again since you removed it. In our case here, we'll just simply destroy the actor. So if it is valid, if we right clicked, then and the marker is valid, we'll just simply destroy it, so that the next time we can spawn another one. If it's not, then we can also verify if it is left mouse button, but in our case we won't do that. For now, if it's false, we're just going to spawn the actor, then add it here. So this should work, but of course we need to handle if it is valid. So if we click once again, we want to change its location. So we'll just drag the marker and just set actor location, like there we go. So that's our set. Let's just move this here, and then which location? The location that we got here. And of course the same thing here, we should not forget to give it a spawn, just make transform, and just give it the same location. Again, really quickly, first, so first, if we right click, we just want to remove that point, that marker. So if we left click here, we want to make sure that it's valid. If it's not valid, we will create one, or like spawn one, then add it to the minimap. If it is valid, which means that we already added it to the minimap, then what we want to do is just change its location. So it should work, but I need to enable the mouse. So I'm going to add the C key, and I'm just going to get the player controller, and then I'm just going to set the UI input, and I'm going to set the input mode to game and UI, and of course the minimap is the one that you're going to focus, and of course, and then we want to show the mouse. So show mouse, I want to set that to true so that we can see our mouse, and then we can click on the minimap. So just put it to true, and so now when we press C, then we will have our mouse that we can use. So I'm going to press C, and then I'm going to click somewhere here on the minimap, and you can see that we added a marker. And now if we right click, that marker gets removed. And so of course, if I click multiple times, I simply change this location, and it gets updated automatically on the minimap. There we go. So if I put it right here and then like run away, since it's persistent, it will always point to that direction. As you can see here, here it is blue. We can always know where it is because it's persistent. So now we want to add something else. So we want to make, for example, change the color of this marker. Let's add another key, or like a keyboard key. For example, we want to press V so that we can change its color. So V, this is just to show you how you can call certain functions on the minimap component. So minimap, get the minimap component, and we want to do change color. So change point of interest color. There you go. And which actor? This one, our marker. So that's the actor, and the tint is pretty much just the color. So we drag a pen and just select make slate color. For example, we want to change its color to something like, I'm going to just keep the same color. So once we press V, we want to change the color of that marker, but first we need to make sure that it's valid. So I'm going to drag the marker, and I'm going to make sure that it's valid. So if it is valid, then we want to change the color of the actor, like point of interest. So now if we play, first I'm going to press C to enable the mouse, and then we're going to put the marker somewhere here, for example. Now if I press V, you can see that the marker color changed. So again, let's just go ahead and remove it, and then I'm going to put another one, and if I press V, you can see that the color changes. So you can do this to anything you want, like characters or your own position, etc. Another example, you could also change the minimap texture. For example, once we press V, we want to change the minimap texture so that if you have, for example, a multi-floor system, you can use this. So let's just drag in the minimap components, just get the minimap components, and let's just call change texture. If you look for change minimap texture, this is the function, and let's just use the other one. So T minimap texture 2, which is this one right here. So we're going to change it to this one instead. And for the render target, so you can either pick a texture or a render target. For the link, we're going to keep the same thing. So it was 14,000. And now if we compile, save, now if we press V, as you can see, the minimap changed to the one we picked. Of course, you can also hide the border, for example. So let's just go ahead and do change border. So we can change the border size or change the border texture and size. I'm going to pick change minimap border, and if you want to remove it, just simply leave everything empty. Now if we press V, we should remove the border. And of course, if you want to remove everything from your minimap, you can just simply call clear all point of interest. This one will remove pretty much everything. This one will remove everything you added. So if we press V, so you get to remove everything pretty much. So we no longer track our enemy and friendly AI. Now we're going to add some static point of interest, and the way you can do that is by simply creating an empty actor with that point of interest. So for example, you want to put something here, so we're going to go to the minimap folder, minimap component, and then to the actor, and that's our point of interest, the one that we spawned when we clicked on the minimap. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put it here. It's just an empty actor, and we're going to change the default values. So is it minimap persistent? Let's just say let's just set it to yes. For the image, let's just add this angry face right here. And for the color, we'll keep the same thing. Or for the out of minimap, we can either pick the same thing or something else, or just leave it empty. I'm just gonna pick the same thing. So this one is very important, and I'm going to show you both of them. For now, we're gonna keep them false, and then we'll play, and then go back here and enable one of them and show you what they're for. So let's just go ahead and do that. And now if we go back to the character, we can then, for example, we can either like add another sequence here, or we can just add it using the key. Let's just add it automatically here. So after we add the enemy or like friendly AI, we want to get all those point of interest. So let's just go ahead and do this one. Let's just look for point of interest. All right, so once we get all our point of interest, we want to do a for each, because they're not the same, so they're different. So we want to make sure that we add the each point of interest with whatever values they have, image and color, etc. So we're going to call a for each. So for each loop, and then we're going to add these point of interest to our minimap. So we're going to drag our minimap, and then we're going to first make sure that it's, because it could be persistent or not. So first, let's add a branch, and we want to get the point of interest. You want to see if it's persistent. So get the minimap persistent. If it is persistent, we're going to call add persistent actor. If not, we're going to add a normal actor. So if it is persistent, we're going to call minimap, get the minimap component, and then we're going to call add persistent actor. One actor, not actors, since we're adding one by one. So we're going to put that there. And then for the actor is this guy. Do we want to follow the rotation? No, since it's just a static point of interest, or like static actor. So for the texture, we're just going to call the get image, since we already picked that when we spawned the point of interest, or like when we placed it on our world. So that's the texture. And for the size, I'm just going to keep it 50 by 50. And for the color, we can get the color. So get color. There we go. And of course, we're going to have to do the same thing for everything. So out of minimap, as well as these variables right here. So same thing, keep out of minimap, texture straight. This is when you rotate the minimap, and I'll show you that later. And same thing for the other one. So only show when out of minimap. So same thing here. And of course, if it's not persistent, we want to do the other one, which is just simply add one actor. So call the add actor without the S, and here we have a few options. Since it's not a persistent actor, we simply want the actor, and we don't want to follow its rotation. We're going to do the same thing. Just get the image and just get the color. So this is the color, and now let's just go ahead and play and see if we can see this point of interest, which has an angry face. Now if we play, you can see the angry face on our minimap tracked, and as you can see, if we try to go towards it, of course we will find where it is, since it's persistent. And here it is. Now of course, if you noticed, when it's out of minimap, you can see that the face is kind of flipped, and this is because of the keep image straight. So if we go ahead here, go back to the point of interest, and if we enable this option, keep out of minimap texture straight if persistent, you're going to notice that the texture of this point of interest is always does not rotate with the minimap. So now, as you can see, even if I rotate the minimap, you can see that the texture is always straight, which is something you might want either way. So that's when to use that variable. Now, of course, again, even if I rotate, the texture is always facing the same direction, or like keeping the same rotation pretty much. So if we go towards it, there it is. So the other option is only show when out of minimap. So this is used when you want to show it on your minimap when you're far away from it, but when you get closer to it or go to its location, you want to remove it or like hide it. So if we enable this option, now if we play, we will see it in our minimap, but if we go to its location, it will disappear. So now that we are there, it's no longer there because we are in that location. So we'll only show when we are too far away. So if we go far away, there you go, it shows. So you could use that for something if you needed to. So I think that's pretty much it. You have some examples here that you can also work with. We have a level 1 with a multifloor system. So let's just go ahead and open that up. And now if we play, we have pretty much the same things, and we have like a few like we're tracking players and whatnot, and then we can go down here, we can change the texture to something else when we go down, and then of course we can go up and then change the texture to the top floor, and then we added this thing right here which indicates that there are stairs here, and of course the same picture for the boss, and you have some options here which shows you how you can change things at runtime. For example, I want to change it to a square, I don't want it to rotate, I do want a border and I don't want the border to rotate, then I can just click apply and you can see that it changes, and then of course you can just change the color as you wish. Then you can toggle your view angle and as well as your location. Of course, if you want to toggle your location, you can then just do toggle location visibility or toggle view angle visibility, and this will hide or show your view angle, and this will hide or show your location. So I think that's it for this tutorial. I'll make sure to make more tutorials for you to make sure that you make use of all the functions available in this minimap. And of course, if you have any questions, leave them below. So thanks for watching and catch you later. Goodbye.